everyone, I have a package from Jackson's, and these were in the Black Friday sale. So I just have to work out which end to undo. Maybe there and there. Okay, we're in. So I ordered a couple of watercolor paint sets. One of which I already have. And you'll be saying, well, why have you ordered another one, Michelle? Purely because I absolutely love it. And I really love the idea. So this is the Schmincke retro set, basically. And it comes with a little note, which I can't read. Since 1881, our company has been producing high-quality artists' paints. With passion and dedication, we have always strived to understand and fulfill the needs and demands of artists. So it's just a little bit about their history, basically, on that sheet. And then we've got a create your own color chart, which is rather nice. So I do have a previous video of me going through all these paints, and actually let me just get my previous palette out. Okay, so this is the one that I bought before, and I just thought I would use these as spares for this one, but then I could put my own choice of 6 colours in this tin because it's such an unusual tin. You know, you've got space for your little half pans where you can squeeze the paint in from the tubes, but you can also put your tubes in there so that you can refill them as and when you want to. You've got 2 lovely big spaces to mix colours, basically. And so in a way I bought it for the tin so that I can put a different set of paints in there, and the paints are going to be my spares for this set. So although it seems like a really weird thing for me to do, that's my reasoning behind it. So on another video I will decide which Schmincke Horodam paints I will put in this set of 6, because 6 is a good size for you know, a limited palette, so it works really well. But yes, that's why I got another one of these, and from memory I think it was almost half price. So yeah, I will put a link to it below. I'll also put a link to the video where I swatch all of these out. The cochineal is the most gorgeous colour in this set, but yeah, on the previous video you will see how many colours I managed to get from just these 6. So it really is a very versatile set of colours. So that was my first purchase. My second one was this. Now I've got lots of little Van Gogh sets. You'll have seen me using them on my channel with the half pans in, but this has got tubes in, And let's have a little look. Oh yes. So we've got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 12 tubes, and the tubes are, how many mils are they? 10 mils each. We've got this little sponge here, and we've also got a very nice Van Gogh size 6 brush. And many of you that follow me will know that Van Gogh brushes are ones that I do rate and I use a lot. So we've got all of those, and then we've got all this lovely mixing area. So let's have a swatch out of the colours that are in this set. Make sure I'm up the right way. Okay, so here is my sketchbook that I do all of my swatching in. Now, the only thing that it doesn't give you here is a little swatch card. No swatch card. Okay, let's rectify that and use an old painting. Now we need it to be able to fit in, so probably need to go a bit smaller. Right, that's going to fit in there. I'm going to move those out of the way and move all of this over a bit. And I need to get the 12 colours in. Of course, the nice thing is I can change the colours that are in here because they're tubes a lot more easily than if they were half pans or quarter pans or... Right, yeah. So we need to divide this into 10 sections. Well, we've almost got 20 centimetres, so just under 2 centimetres for each one should do it. Ooh, silence again. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Perfect. Right, and it is just for my ease of record when I'm out and about, so we don't need to be too precious about a swatch card. There we go. There's my swatch card now. Now I can see that the first colour is Chinese white. So I'm actually, and Chinese white is just a mixing white. So I'm not actually going to swatch it out. I'm just going to write Chinese white. And I'm not going to write it on here either. So this is my Van Gogh tube set. We'll call it that. Okay. So I think we're going to start with the yellow, which is, what is this? Permanent lemon yellow. And I'm at a funny angle again. Permanent lemon yellow. Okay, let's put a bit of you up there. Does it give the pigment numbers on here? It does. It is PY, is that 154? 184. PY 184. So I'm not going to bother putting that on my little card. Oh, I need some water. Water coming up. So I will move that down. Pop that there. Let's use the brush that came with it. But we need to get the glue off of it first. There we go. So we have got permanent lemon yellow. So we'll do a circle that's kind of full strength. And then I'll just rinse my brush off a bit so that we can get one that is lighter. Okay, let's see what we've got next. And I've lost the tube. Oh, there it is. So next we have got Azo Yellow Medium. Okay. And our pigment. Where are we? So we've got PY154 and oh, PW6, really? A white? Okay. And PO62. So this one's got 3 pigments in. Interesting. Ooh. And let's put that on my swatch card. And then we'll do a nice full strength. And then once dipped in the water, we'll get the lighter version. Okay, so I mean there is a difference there. I'm hoping you can see that on the screen. Then we have got permanent red light. Okay. And what pigments have we got in this one? Or just one? Actually, looks like it is just one. PR255. Okay. So let's pop a bit of you in. And what I like about this set also is that I'll be able to swap these tubes out with maybe colours that I prefer as well, depending on how I get on with these, really. So let's do our permanent red light. Our concentrated one. Oh, that circle's gone really wobbly. And then we'll rinse it off so that we can see our diluted version, which is actually very pretty. That diluted version is rather nice. Right, is this an alizarin? No, it's a Madder Lake Deep. Okay. And let's see what our pigment for this one is then. Am I up the right way? Yeah, PR264. So apart from our azo yellow, at the moment they are all single pigments. And I do already have some Van Gogh paints, as I said, mostly in half pans. But, you know, it'd be nice to try these. And it would be nice to have another palette where I can, you know, keep the tubes. Ooh, my circles are going even more wonky. Let's water you down. That's actually very pretty. Very pretty. Right, looks like we are moving on to some blues now. Cobalt blue. What does that say? Gosh. Oh yeah, just cobalt blue, basically. And so it's not actually a cobalt blue. All right then. But we were right. Cobalt blue. PB29. That's ultramarine. And PW6, which is a white. Is that a Chinese white? No, that's PW4. Oh well, it is a white anyway. So let's squeeze this one out. Oh, I didn't write it here. Cobalt blue. Okay, let's do our concentrated circle. And then we'll water that down a bit. Well, it is a pretty blue. It's not a true cobalt blue, but it's a pretty blue. Oh, I forgot to do my swatch card. There we go. Do we have ultramarine next? We do. We've got ultramarine deep though, not just ultramarine. So let's check. Is this just PB29? It is just PB29. Right. Let's get some of you out. We'll do our circle. Oh, you can see the difference actually. The ultramarine is definitely more, got a hint of purple to it than cobalt blue, and you can really quite see the difference when I use it quite lightly, and where I've used more water you can see that starting to granulate. Actually, so is the cobalt blue because it's got PB29 in it, so that is granulating. Next we've got something called permanent green. I didn't do enough of these, did I? Okay, we will stick something on there in a minute. Permanent green. Let's check. Is this going to be a phthalo maybe? PG7. I'm pretty sure PG7 is phthalo green. And PY154, so a yellow. Well, that was a bit daft of me, wasn't it? I only did 10 and I needed 12. Right, let's get our permanent green on there. Quite often the greens that are in sets are really not my favourites. Nope, this being one of them. Okay, we'll have to see what greens we can mix and use that as a kind of a mixing green, I think. Right, what have we got? Viridian. I love Viridian, but Viridian is probably another one of those greens that is great for a accent colour. If you're just wanting that something that stands out, this is just PG7, so I don't think it's a proper Viridian. I think this is phthalo green. Oh, let's undo you and pop you over there. Let's write you on here. Okay. So here is our Viridian. So that's a warmer green. This is a cooler green. You can see the kind of blue tinge to it. And there it is, watered down. It's quite a pretty colour, watered down, I have to say. Right, I'm going to need to make some more of my swatch cards, but we'll keep going for the minute. Yellow ochre. Oops. Now, I like a good yellow ochre. Let's see what we've got here. Looks like it's a single pigment. PY42. So let's just pop you here. Now we'll have our full strength. Okay, let me just pop that over there for a minute. And then we'll water you down. Very nice. And now I'm going to have to join a couple of these on. So let's just roughly get the size. 1 and 2. And I will just sellotape them on in a short while. So next we have got this burnt sienna. And our pigment, PR101. Perfect. Where should we put some of you? Down here. Now, yellow ochre and burnt sienna are quite favourites of mine. So, that is quite a nice burnt sienna. And there we go. Watered down. And then our last one is Payne's Grey. So where should we put you? Down here. What have we got? It will be a mixture of pigments. PBK6 and PV19. So it's a black and a violet in this one. Let's just pop our Payne's Grey over there. I have to say that these are pretty decent paints, you know, and they are very reasonably priced. Oh, that is a nice Payne's Grey. Yes, I'm not sure that you can see that on the screen at the minute. Once I've dried them and brought them up, you might be able to see them better. And there we've got our diluted one. Oh, and don't forget to do my swatch card. Right. Now I'm going to dry these, stick my swatch cards together properly, and I'll be back and we'll see if we can get some nice mixes. Okay, I will be back in a tick. So here we are. This is my little swatch card, which I've had to stick together, but that's fine because it will fold and go in there. Here are the colours now that they're dry. We've got our typical kind of cool and warm yellow, and then a warm and a cool red. We've got our cobalt and ultramarine blue. We've got a couple of greens. One's a bit warmer than the other, the viridian being a bit cooler. You've got a couple of earth colours, yellow ochre and burnt sienna, and then you've got your Payne's grey. So the ultramarine deep is granulating, although it's not showing up so much on this paper, and so is the cobalt blue. Yeah, I'm not sure about the burnt sienna. Sometimes burnt siennas can be a little bit granulating, but not so much that one. But I think all in all, it's a typical generic choice of kind of colours for a set, a little palette set, basically. But the greens are not very they're not usable particularly on their own, and there isn't a dark brown in there, so I think the permanent red light goes to almost an orangey peachy colour when it's watered down. We haven't really got what I call a bluey violet colour, so I'm going to do a bit of mixing now and see if I can mix some of the colours that I feel are missing. So I really want a deeper brown. So there's my burnt sienna. Let's take a bit of that, and I think we'll probably get grey if I mix with ultramarine deep. I wonder what happens if I mix with Payne's grey. Yes, okay. So this is a really dark, like a sepia brown. So that gives us a much darker brown than the... I wish I could fit all of this on the screen. Maybe if I move the palette out of the way a bit, and my water over there. Actually, let's move my water right out of the way, because then that can go up. And yes, I think you can kind of see what I'm doing more then. Okay, so burnt sienna and Payne's grey. So we'll shorten it a bit. Pea grey. This gives us a much darker brown, and we can, if I water that down, you can kind of see that there. What else might we be missing? Did I say a purple? So let's take ultramarine, and we'll mix it with the Madder Lake. Add a Lake Deep. Ooh, okay. Let's try a bit more of the... okay, that's better. Right. So this is a very dark purple. Let's just dilute that a bit, so that you can see we've got this very bluey purple, which was Ultra M plus Meadow Lake. So we've now added a purple and a dark brown to what we've got here. If we want a real orange, we could take some of the Permanent Red Light and let's mix it with, let's go with this Azo yellow. Maybe a bit more of the Azo yellow. Okay. So that's going to give us much more of an orange. And that was our Permanent Red plus Azo yellow. Yeah, the greens that are really not very natural. Right, let's add some Permanent Yellow to the Permanent Green. That hasn't helped much. Maybe we'll try adding a bit more. But I think I'm going to also add a tiny touch of red. Okay, now that's better. So that is a much more natural green. That was Permanent Green plus, no, lemon yellow. Lemon plus red. Yeah. So I much prefer that. If we add a little bit of our, let's try adding our burnt sienna to this Permanent Green. Okay, that's nice. Yep. So that was Permanent Green plus burnt sienna. With our Viridian, let's add our burnt sienna to that again. Take a bit of that one. Oh, that gives a really dark, almost perylene green. So that is our Viridian plus burnt sienna. Now, those three greens are looking a lot nicer than those two. Let's add some of the azo yellow to the Viridian. Let's try adding a bit more. Nope, I still don't like it. Let's add a bit of yellow ochre to it. Yes. Okay. Probably didn't need to use the yellow, just the yellow ochre. So that was Viridian plus yellow ochre. So you can see we're starting to get a lot more colours going on here. Let's take our Scarlet Lake and add some of the azo yellow to it, all the other way around. Ooh, okay. That gives us a much more muted orange. Scarlet Lake plus azo. Now let's take our cobalt blue and add that to our lemon yellow. Well, that's quite a nice colour for kind of fir trees. That's our cobalt blue plus lemon yellow. Right, let's also I want to try the ultramarine. Running out of space now. Ultramarine and burnt sienna. That gives us a gorgeous dark brown, and because it's got the ultramarine in it, it's starting to granulate already. So that's ultra plus burnt sienna. Okay. Now let's do our cobalt. I really am running out of space. With some burnt sienna. Oh. And we get the most delightful, this is why I love cobalt blue. Although this isn't a real cobalt blue, but look at that. Cobalt blue plus burnt sienna. It gives you almost a black, but obviously the more water that you add to it. So if I water this down a bit more. Then you get a really nice grey, which is beautiful. Right, what am I missing? Anything? Nothing. Let's mix our Payne's Grey with, I'll get a little bit of the lemon yellow out again. I want to see if that makes a kind of a green. Yes. Okay. So this is Payne's Grey plus lemon yellow. So, I mean, you can get a multitude of greens from this set. I mean, obviously you've got your white for mixing, so you could, what was that? Permanent red and azo yellow. If I add some white to that. Now, some people will moan and say that you shouldn't add white. But I think it's purely personal preference. And then we're going to get this real soft, almost flesh tone, pinky flesh tone kind of colour. That's the permanent red and azo with white. So I'm just going to put a star there, and put plus white, because that's pretty easy to do. You know, and obviously you can add white to your permanent red. And Chinese white, as opposed to titanium white, was or is a mixing white. So with the white, you will be able to get some nice pastel tones if that's what you're into. That's the permanent red plus white. So we've got that there. If we take the ultramarine, which I've still got a bit of there, and we add the white to that, I think we should get a kind of a lavender colour, if you're someone that likes lavender. Now, this has got lots of binder coming out of it, which is really, yeah, I'm not so pleased with that. But here we go. Here is our kind of lavender colour, which you can get just from mixing your ultramarine blue with some of the white. Now, I'm going to have to get something to try and get rid of some of that, or I might... Let's get my most expensive tool, my bent paper clip. Gosh, this thing has come in handy so many times, and I'm basically going to give it a real good mix up. But that's the only, this is the only tube that has done that. The rest have been absolutely fine. So that is a trifle disappointing. There we go, give that a bit of a wipe off. And pop its lid back on. Right, well, I've noticed that this video's gone on a little bit. But it's always fun when we get something new and we want to properly test it all out. There we go. And all the time I have been using the brush that came with it, which fits in there just nicely. And obviously you wouldn't be using every single colour like I have. Hopefully you'll be using a bit more of a limited palette. Now let's see if we can get these back in. They've got a little notch at the top there, so that they fit quite nicely. Ooh. Right, so yes, you know what, I think sometimes it's nice to be able to use the paint from the tube, and yeah, this is a good way of doing that. I like this setup. I think it's quite neat. Of course, you know, that's if you've got a bigger space, etc. If you've got a smaller space and you're wanting to use tubes, then I would have to say that this is probably going to be a really good setup. You could have 6 half pans and 6 different tubes if you wanted in this particular palette, to give you a choice of say 12 colors. But to be honest, I found that these colors, I'll link the video below, but you know, and I hope you go and have a look at it. It's one of my most popular videos, but you will see how many different colors I can get just from the 6 that are here. So out and about travel wise, this one's probably better, although it's fairly heavy. But yeah, if you're going away and you're just going to leave it on a little desk, etc., then I think this one probably does the job, and in the studio this one will do the job for me. So there we have it. My purchases from Jackson's for the sort of Black Friday deals. That's all I've got. I just got these couple of palettes with tubes in, as something different for me to use. So I will see you again next time. Thank you so much for listening to me, bearing with me, supporting me. I really appreciate it. Thank you all. Bye.